Morning, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to be talking to you today on breakthroughs in clean energy technologies. I've been working at Stanford for the last 11 years, looking at exactly this topic of trying to seek out breakthrough technologies in the clean energy field. So what I thought I would do today, in about the 20 minutes I have to talk, is give you a little bit of a summary of what the challenges are to a clean energy future, and then talk about how disruptive technologies could transform our energy system, how they can address those challenges. And then I was going to give you a few examples from Stanford. I wouldn't call them quite disruptive technologies yet, but they may be on the pathway to being potentially disruptive. And talk a little bit about what are the models for advancing breakthroughs and in the energy field, and then give you some of my closing thoughts. So that was the plan for my talk. And so just to begin, let me give you a very broad picture of the energy system and what are the issues that are associated with an energy system. So the global energy system, we want to provide energy to the world's population, but we want to do it in a way that it's accessible to everybody in society. That's everybody from the developed world to the developing world. Make it reliable. Make sure that your electricity is available 99.99999% of the time. Make sure everything is available to you. It's also got to be affordable. Everyone needs to be able to afford to have the energy that they need. It has to be protective for the environment, and of course we hear a lot about that, how our energy system is actually, how we have all the issues with climate change and so on, and I'll come to that in a moment. And it also has to be secure. It has to be, we have to overcome all the vulnerabilities in the energy system. And so we're trying to create this global energy system that can meet all these factors. And so the challenge is, specifically, as we try and transform our energy system from the energy system that we have today to the one that we're looking for in the coming decades, is that there are many of them, and I've just listed a few here. There's a certain urgency. We all know that greenhouse gas emissions are growing from burning of fossil fuels. And so we're seeing that actually and as you can see from the chart at the bottom, which comes from the IPCC, we can see that actually in the last 10 years or so, the growth of greenhouse gas emissions has actually been growing more than it was in the past, around 2% a year. So we have to address that issue. There's the issue of scale. The energy system is massive. If we want to transform the energy system, it's going to take decades, and it's an absolutely massive problem. Costs are, of course, an issue. The technical issues, of course, if we had all the technologies today, we'd be using them. We're not there yet, and I'll talk about that. We also need to have the business investment. The investment that's needed to transform our energy system is huge, and how do we go about getting that? We know that political will, we've just had an election. We know how difficult it is to get our politicians to take the steps that are needed to have the policies in place in order to change our energy system. And at a global scale, that makes it even more difficult. And also, of course, public acceptance. We could have the best technologies in the world, but if the public doesn't accept those technologies, then they won't be deployed. So, in the energy field, you'll see there are lots of projections of where the energy system is going, and all the oil companies put out their outlooks, their projections. The International Energy Agency, the US Energy Information Agency does it. Here I'm showing one projection of where we see the energy system going in 2050. This is from the GA, the General Energy Assessment, came out about a year and a half ago. And you can see the different energy supply, how they project under one of many sets of assumptions that they do. They have many projections, but this one is one that shows how we see the different energy supply technologies in the future. In addition to doing projections, people in the energy field also make scenarios. That's not what they project is going to happen, but what they would like to see would be the situation in the future. And here I put something, it's probably difficult for you to see, but it actually comes from the NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab Renewable Electricity Future Study that came out about a year ago. And it shows in the US what they see the energy mix would be if we wanted to reach 80% renewable energy penetration in the energy system by 2050. So what's the role of disruptive technologies? So if you look at the graph on the right there, you'll see that we can follow this projection, this business as usual projection, but if we can introduce some disruptive technologies, maybe it will lead us on the pathway towards the optimal scenario, towards a much better scenario than we are right now. So that's where I see disruptive technologies can play a role. And of course, it's not just the technology that's important. You need to have disruption in various ways, not just in the technical performance, but also it has to be able to lower the costs. And often we need to have government incentives and financial models in place in order to see that technology actually come into play. And I've got pictures of solar panels, so you can see that that's happened in the solar industry, in the wind industry. In the transportation, we haven't quite got to the lower cost that we would like, but we're seeing the beginning of that type of disruption.